Hi everybody, welcome to our live event. My name is Brenda K.B. Anderson and I am a Crochet Colorwork fanatic, you guys. I've had some questions, a couple of questions or suggestions really, from people for learning about different styles of colorwork. And so I wanted to do a live event where I just basically talk about the different styles of colorwork in crochet and kind of like why you would use one versus another, or what they're good at, what they're the best at achieving, or if there's any drawbacks or things you should watch out for. So this is not going to be my usual kind of tutorial style live event. I will be showing you little bits of things just so that you can kind of see the difference between how the different styles of color work actually work. But we're not going in depth on any of these things. This is by no means a tutorial on how to mosaic color work or how to tapestry crochet. But it's more like a little dipping your toe in the water of all these techniques and kind of understanding the difference between them. And so that way, if you're wanting to work on a project, you can kind of say, oh, this might work well in this style of color work, or I want to try this. This looks really interesting to me. This is more of kind of like just a overall general, just a general overview of the different styles, okay? So first of all, I want to thank you guys for your patience. I know we've had to reschedule this live event twice because I've been sick. I'm feeling much better, and I appreciate you guys being patient about having to delay it, 2 times now. But I'm very excited to talk about this. This is something that I'm really passionate about. I love color. I love, getting imagery into my projects. I love patterns. So this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I actually wrote a book a couple of years ago. It's called The Hooktionary. I actually have a copy of it here, The Hooktionary. And this is a stitch pattern dictionary with a bunch of different styles of tapestry crochet shown in that. So we're going to start out this by talking about the tapestry crochet aspect of color work, okay? There's many, many different ways of using 2 different colors in your projects. Everything from just the very basic like stripes or, patches of different colors, up to something that's more intricate, like where you have an actual pattern or you're following a chart and you're using 2 colors as you work across one row. Sometimes you're only using 1 color at a time. There's lots and lots of different techniques that you can use. But I want to start out by talking about tapestry crochet. So when I first wrote this book, or started writing this book was a long time in coming, actually. It took me a very long time to finish it up and get it out there into the world. But when I had started on that, at the time, there weren't really that many people doing color work and crochet. It really seemed like it was really hard to find projects or patterns or books about it. This was kind of, when I had first started that book, it was sort of before this whole like mosaic boom that happened. I like to think of it that way. There was this huge, explosion of popularity all of a sudden in crochet colorwork. And I think it's because people realized, oh, this isn't just a knitting thing. Like, you can use crochet to make all these cool things. But when I was working on that book, at the time, the definition for tapestry crochet was that you were working it in the round and you were switching back and forth between your colors. You'd be using 2 colors per round usually. You can use more per round, but it was something that was like generally understood that you were working it in the round. Now, when I look at people who are describing their crochet color work as tapestry crochet, I've seen it, people describe their projects, their designs as tapestry crochet. It looks to me like people are using that term a little differently now and using that to just describe like creating an image in crochet while you're making a tapestry or something like that, where you may be working back and forth in turn rows, or you might be working in the round. So there's the words in crochet, like the word tapestry crochet to me has changed a lot over the last few years, and people are using it to describe different things. So I'm going to talk about tapestry crochet as the way that I first learned, which is when you're working in the round, you're using more than 1 color at a time. You're just kind of switching back and forth between the colors. So in my book, I talk about this, that the different stitches that you use to create tapestry crochet, because you could use single crochets, you could use double crochets, you could use what I really, really love is extended single crochets. If you guys have watched a lot of my live events, you know that that's one of my favorite stitches of all time for lots of reasons, but it makes excellent stitch definition in tapestry crochet. So you could be using, you're going to be working in the round in tapestry crochet, and you could be using one of many, one of a large handful of different stitches to actually create your color work. So I want to show you what I mean by that. So here are some samples. These are all what I would consider tapestry crochet. And they're all worked as like a tube in the round. You can see this is a circular thing. And you're working it with the right side facing you all of the time. And you have 2 different colors. So I'm just going to do a few stitches so that you guys can see what is happening here. So this particular sample, this is single crochet worked in the back loop. And so I'm just working it underneath the back loop and making a single crochet while I'm crocheting over the color that I'm not using, and using this color right here to create the stitch. And when I want to switch to the other color, I'm going to drop the color I'm using, pick up the unused color, and finish that stitch with the next color. Because every time we make a stitch, when you change from one color to the next, you're actually making the top of the next stitch before you make the next stitch. So here's the little hat that we're going to put on the next stitch. And as we create that next stitch, I'm going to be crocheting over this strand of unused yarn to encase it and making my stitch here. Okay? So this is one version of tapestry crochet. We're working single crochet into the back loop and just working around and around, and so you can see how I'm switching back and forth between those 2 colors, and I am crocheting over the color that's not in use. Now, you can do tapestry crochet where you just kind of let it strand across the back of your work, and then you will see these little strands on the back. They're called floats. You can also do that. This is a little bit more common, to trap those floats so that you don't have those strands hanging out on the back of your work. Okay, so I'll show you one more color change here. And now we're working with the green. Okay, so you can see that, I'm just switching back and forth between using these 2 colors. They're going around with me as I stitch. When I'm not using it, I'm just crocheting over it and continuing on my way. So this is a single crochet worked through the back loop. That's the stitch pattern I use for this particular tapestry crochet. This one is an extended single crochet. I believe it is, it's a split extended single crochet. It's okay if you don't know that term of the stitch, or if you don't even know what an extended single crochet is either, that's okay. I actually have a suggestion for you in a minute about learning extended single crochet. But see, you can see how the stitch, the texture of it looks a little different. Just the way that the edges of where one color meets the next color, they just look a little different. It's because I'm using a different stitch. This is a split extended single crochet. This one is a front post double crochet, so these are post stitches. And let me just do a couple of them here. So you would work around the post of the stitch, and you can't actually trap your float. So they just hang out on the back for this particular style of color work. I'm going to switch back to the blue to complete my stitch. Just like that. Okay, and you can see on the back of the work, there are these little strands here. These are called the floats, where they're just going from one section of color to the next. Okay, and this particular fabric is a little bit stretchier, it's squishy, it's very warm. It just has a very different feel to it than the others, because this is made with post stitches. It's just the anatomy of each stitch is just different. The way that the loops are made are just different. This is a split single crochet, also known as center single crochet, also known as the waistcoat stitch. Some people call this the knit stitch, but it's basically like a single crochet that's worked a little bit further down into the stitch instead of underneath the top 2 loops. Like instead of right here, you would work it down in between the 2 legs of the V, like that to create the stitch. So these, choosing the stitch pattern that you're using, that'll affect how clean your color work is. Like if it has lots of if it looks really pixelated and it doesn't look like it's forming a solid image, you may want to try using a different stitch, using the split single crochet or waistcoat stitch, or using an extended single crochet, which is what this one is. There's so many different styles of this. And so that'll affect not only what the color looks like how much the colors bleed into each other or stay separate and nice and crisp. That'll affect that, but it'll also affect the hand of your fabric, the drape and the feel of your fabric. So it might be really, like this particular stitch, it looks super clear, but it does not have as much drape. It's a very compact stitch, and it generally doesn't have a whole lot of stretch. And you can, go up hook sizes and things like that to affect the drape and all that. But just know, I just want you to know that there are all sorts of different versions just within this version of crochet, just within tapestry crochet, just depending on what stitch, what the anatomy of the stitches, what the actual stitches you're using are to create the motif. That's going to affect your fabric, it's going to affect how it looks and all that. So if you guys want to know a little bit more about this style of crochet, this tapestry crochet, I do have numerous projects actually on the Creative Crochet Corner website. Let me see, I'm going to grab those. We've got this is actually comes from a class. This is Mastering Front Post Double Crochet. This is on Craftsy. It's also on the Creative Crochet Corner website. And here I am using that post-stitch crochet because it's nice and stretchy and it's super warm. And it makes really nice graphic designs. Like it really looks clean and clear. It really looks good. It looks similar to knitting, but it's thicker and warmer, and it has like more stretch. You can see it's stretchy. So this one I really love. So that is from a class that I did for the Creative Crochet Corner website. Also, let's see, we've got this one. This is called the All That bag. And so this one is using the single crochet through the back loop. That is a free pattern download on the Creative Crochet Corner website. There should be links to all of these also in the description. So if you're looking for these projects, there should be links to these different projects I'm kind of highlighting here so you guys have access to these. So this is tapestry crochet again, use single crochet, work through the back loop. This one I believe is a premium, or you have to be a gold member. This is the knit stitch or the split single crochet, also known as the waistcoat stitch. This is actually made in the round. It's a tube and it's stitched together at the top and the bottom, so it makes a very thick, really nice pot holder, and it's kind of meant for holiday season, so it's a little bit of a snowflake there. And then this project was made in the same stitch, split single crochet or center single crochet or waistcoat stitch, knit stitch. And I chose this particular stitch because it was nice and stiff, and I was making this little elephant purse, and I wanted to have a little bit of structure without actually having to line it. So that stitch pattern is nice, can be nice and stiff if you stitch it up at a fairly firm gauge. Let's see. All right, and then also, so we've got the, I think this is called the Tannenbaum hat, and this was a project that I did. I did a live event, and also you have access to the free pattern for the Tannenbaum hat, and this one was done in extended single crochet, tapestry crochet again. These are all tapestry crochet so far. And this one, this is like the download of the day. We have a link to this. This is a checkered bucket hat, and this was made in my favorite, the extended single crochet stitch. The thing I love about this stitch, and I really wanted to highlight it here, is you get these very crisp edges. So if you're making anything that's a square and you really want the sides to be very clear, and you're doing it in color work, I recommend for sure using extended single crochet to create that stitch pattern. And we do have a tutorial on this as well. So this is a fun cotton hat for the summertime. All right, so we've got, that's all our tapestry crochet. Two more things I want to say, actually just one more thing I want to say about the tapestry crochet, is that because you have to work this style of crochet in the round, so you always have the right side facing, you're not working it back and forth in the turn rows, you're basically creating things that are going to be a tube. So if you're thinking, well, so then I can't make a cardigan, I can't, that seems limiting. you can actually do those things. You just have to create a steek, which is like a planned area of a certain type of stitching that you plan to actually cut through with your scissors. I know that sounds totally nuts, but knitters do it, and I started exploring this, a number of years ago because I had been doing some knitting projects that were steeked, and I'm like, why don't crocheters ever do this? I never see this in crochet. And so I developed a method of making planned steeks in crochet, and you could do it just as easily in crochet as in knitting. So this is a little section, this is just a little swatch. This was crocheted in a tube in tapestry crochet, and then I made a little steek and cut it open. And I do have a whole class on this if you guys are interested in this technique and being able to cut through your tapestry crochet and have it not fall apart on you. I have lots of different methods of keeping that, keeping anything from raveling and that, keeping it all structurally sound. I do have a class for that on the Creative Crochet Corner website. It's called Steeking, Cutting Your Crochet on Purpose, I think. I can't remember the exact title, but this is one of the projects from that class. You're creating this bag that would not be able to be made just completely in the round. We had, just because of the way the color work was done. So if you guys are interested in that. Okay, so that concludes our tapestry crochet. So the next thing I'm gonna talk about, Molly says she loves the tree hat and they've made it multiple times. Oh, thanks, Molly. And hi from Molly. Oh, and Jennifer is saying hello from the UK. Hi, you guys. Oh, I missed some hellos. Okay. All right. Thanks, you guys, for chiming in. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about looks a lot like tapestry crochet, but it's actually mosaic crochet. So this took me a little while to get into because tapestry crochet seemed very simple for me to create my own designs because really all you need is a grid and you just fill in colors wherever you want them. And you're not really like constrained by having it in a certain order or having to have certain amounts of stitches and different colors in certain spaces or anything like that. You can really just draw out whatever you want and then you can stitch it up into tapestry crochet. You're not bound by other, having to have, every other row, you have to have another color that connects to the, there's really no rules about where your colors go. So if you are looking to create your own charts, you want to do your own drawings, tapestry crochet, I feel like is the simplest kind of color work as far as designing the actual motifs and making that into your fabric. It's just very straightforward. So mosaic crochet, this is called the Rose Butte cowl. And I did a live event on this a few weeks ago where I'm basically showing you from start to finish how to make this mosaic cowl. Mosaic is such a fun technique, you guys. And if you're not so much focused on getting a drawing that you have into your fabric, if you just want to make beautifully patterned things, geometric designs, and that sort of thing, this is a great place to start because you're only using one color at a time as you're making your rounds, and it just keeps your yarn from getting tangled. It's just a little more chill foray into the world of color work, I think. It's very simple. So there's two different kinds of tapestry crochet. We have overlay crochet, which is what this is, and then we have inset crochet, which is, here's an example of inset crochet right here. And you can see I use the same stitch pattern just so I could show you this. And this is actually the same weight of yarn, the same type of yarn here. You can see this is a little bit more elongated compared to these. This fabric is also a little flatter. It's not quite as bumpy as raised. And then if you look at the back, we've got these little kind of wiggly stripes, and this one has these little wiggly stripes that are a little bit narrower. They're kind of similar. So how to know which one to use. So the inset version, this is great if you want to make something that's not in the round. So if you want to make blankets, scarves, other flat pieces that are worked back and forth and turn rows, then you would probably be best at using this. This overlay is great for anything that's a tube. So like a hat, a cowl, mittens, a yoke and a sweater, anything that can be a tube shape because you're working this in the round with the right side always facing. That is great. Also, if you really like this technique and you want to make something flat, you can of course do that. So what that means, what that would mean is, because you are always going to be facing the same side of your crochet, you can crochet across it and then you can fasten off. And then you start at the beginning again and crochet across it and fasten off. So you're going to have all these little yarn ends, which can be incorporated into fringe, or you can crochet these little pockets to hide your fringe in, or you could weave in all your ends, which takes a bazillion years. You could do that. So there's lots of options. So, if you really love this style, you like how it looks, you want to do it this version, but you want to make flat things, you can still do it. It's just, you're going to have to deal with your ends in some way. So you got to deal with all those beginning ends and ending ends, okay? So, for me, when I'm thinking, I think I want to do this mosaic style crochet, I usually just decide, okay, I'll do overlay if it's in the round, and I'll do inset if I want to make a flat thing. That just makes it easier for me. But, we are crocheters, and we have ways of figuring out different ways to adapt anything, right, to fit whatever it is that you need. So there are ways around both of those things. But just in your mind, if you think overlay, that's usually in the round, or is easiest to do in the round, inset, back and forth, and turn rows. So the way that this works, I just want to show you just like a brief overview of how mosaic works. So mosaic, you're only using one color at a time, and here, I'm just going to back this up a little bit here. You're only using one color at a time, and you can just leave the other one hanging. And you can see right here, this is where I've stranded them up my work. There's a little bit of a line here on the wrong side of my work. That's where I'm carrying the yarn up. The one that's not in use, you just let it dangle there until you need it. So when you're doing overlay, you're just crocheting all the time. You're just working into the back loops for the most part. Okay, so I'm doing a single crochets into the back loops like this. And then if I want to, say this brown color is, I don't want that to be brown, I want it to be gray, then I would do a double crochet down here into that unused front loop, like this. And what that does is it covers up the brown that was previously showing, but now it's behind there. So when you're doing mosaic, you're just kind of working along the top edge unless you want to cover up the color that was in the round below. And every time you go around and around, then you switch to another color. So we're going to make our way to the end here. So you get to the end